Right, I'm going to call this video I've wasted 24 hours so you guys don't have to. This has been the worst piece of equipment I have ever had to set up in all my years of working with servers and NAS drives and all sorts of different hardware and software. It's not actually the piece of equipment's fault, it's the people that are supplying the software that goes with it, and we'll just cover what the issue is. So this is the manual that it comes with. This is the USB stick that it comes with. So if we open the manual, and if you saw my unboxing video you already know about the page that's just hanging out. We've obviously got the usual assembly instructions that are very simple. I had a problem holding the tower up because the screw wasn't in any of the bags and it had fallen out and it was in the grey case, but not a problem. This focus and distance I think is wrong. I think it's 130mm. And here we go with the software acquisition and installation. So open the attached USB drive and decompress the file called BSL carving software. It doesn't exist. We'll go over this in a minute. So that doesn't exist. Install the drive file, blah 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 blah. That doesn't exist. That's not what it's called. And then double click the shortcut Mr Carve to start the carving software. Well, that doesn't work either. And we'll cover that more shortly. So the instructions, probably the instructions here about the actual software when it's up and running is fine, but as far as the rest of it goes, it's not accurate. So the software would run, if I use the Mr Carve software, it would run, but as soon as you tried to either do the red light outline or the F2 for mark, nothing happens. The laser just sits there with the laser lights sat there. So yeah, completely useless. So what do you do then? Well, you plug in. Let me tell you what happened first of all when I plugged this in. I plugged it in. Windows nearly wet itself, and it was chucking up virus, worm warnings, and all of a sudden the USB drive was unusable. You could see it was about half full, but there were no files on it. So I thought, well, okay, doesn't matter, we'll just go straight off to the Mr Carve website, where you can click on support, download, and scroll down. There's the operations manual. Don't think it's any different to what I've got. Seacad manual is there, the M2 and M2 in Chinese, but what we want is the M1 engraving software. So clicked on that. Strangely, this doesn't download from their website, it goes to Google Drive, which, as the other ones don't, it's interesting that they've chosen to do that. If you click on that, it will just show you what's inside the folder. What you want to do is click up here on the download button. So we're going to download it. It's 59 meg, so it can't scan it for viruses, but it's not a problem. And you can see it downloading there. Okay, so I'm going to shut that, and shut that. So if we go back to our downloads folder, you can see here we've got the zipped M1 engraving software. It's number 1 because I probably downloaded it earlier and it's renamed it 1 instead of just leaving that off. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go to properties and I'm going to click unblock and then apply, and then I'm going to right click and extract all, and I'm just going to leave it in the downloads folder. I'm not going to open them, I just want to show you what it will do. So we'll extract that lot, a couple of seconds. Okay, so now we've got the unzipped folder there, and another one. Okay, so at this point you can hopefully see, if I can get a bit closer, we've got that is the USB serial driver installer. That's, I think, is probably fine. I've found various versions of this from newer to older. This is 2017, but I don't think that's an issue. Then you go to engraving software, and then you get this lot come up. And you think that you should run the Mr Carve, but it doesn't actually work. And then you've got another complete folder there. It looks like there might be something interesting in it. So I'm just going to unzip that and leave it here. And we'll just have a peek in that as well. Because if it needs all of these files and folders for operation, it's unusual to have a zipped file there. Right, so I have unzipped it, it's taken it to the bottom, so it's down there. We'll just go into that and have a look. Hang on a minute, we've got a completely new program here, and this one is called SeaApp. That's the application. This SDK demo is also SDK demo is there, and that looks exactly the same as the previous one. Let's go back. So now in engraving software we've got first lot there with Mr Carve, which you must assume is the correct program, but also we've got this freshly unzipped SeaApp program. So all very confusing. Now I'm just going to go back to there and I'm going to leave it for the moment. I just want to show you something else. Now I've run these programs, I've tried to put the Cypress drivers on there. In fact, I'll show you the Cypress driver first, because that is what you would put on first. So we're going to drive, and we will right click and run as administrator, and hopefully you'll get this come up. And it's going to run. You'll see in the background in a minute it's going to run some stuff from command line. Just agree to that. Happy where it's going. It's going to go in program files x86, so we can install that. There's the command line, and it seems that it's happy that it's installed that without any problems. So at this point we're going to go and plug in the USB cable. Now I happen to be plugging it into this docking station on the workshop computer, purely because it's easier for me to reach than going round to the back of the computer, which is tucked behind the monitor and the printer. But it makes no difference. It doesn't matter. It seems to be fine when it is working off of a powered hub or directly into the machine. I'm using USB 3 sockets on here, but again I don't think it's going to make much difference. So you heard the dong as it recognised that. Unfortunately it's also opened up the drive program. So let's go to device manager, and if we look, I don't think it's right. Has it recognised it? Yeah, unfortunately, because I've already had this installed, it's recognised it. Oh, you know what, I shouldn't have. Actually, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to show you what really happens. Let's delete the Cypress and the driver, and we will just refresh this, and I want to show you what you actually get if you don't install the driver first. So you're going to see setting up C laser. I've lost all of that now. So if we bring up device manager again. Right, so if you don't install that laser, if you don't run the Cypress installation program, you're going to get this. It's installed C laser, it says it's set up and ready to go, and you think, well, that's cool. But actually, if you come up here and then double click see laser, it says there are no drivers installed, so this clearly isn't going to work. Okay, as soon as you run the Cypress installation program, which I should go to my PC, downloads, so we go back into the software folder, we go to drive, and we're going to right click again and run as administrator. And we'll do it again. We'll run through that again. And we are done. Click on finish. And if we go back to device manager now, you can refresh it if you want. In this case it's actually already done it. Oh god, this bloody hub, every time you do something with it, it pops up all the windows. Okay, so now we've got the correct Cypress FX2LP sample device. Now why the hell it's called that is beyond me, because if nothing else it's confusing. You want to see Mr Carve M1 or something that is a bit more helpful than seeing that. I mean, your average computer user is not going to be happy with that. If you've just added a physical piece of equipment, you're going to be expecting to see it under printers or portable devices or something, not as a universal serial bus controller. But anyway, that's fine. Once you've run the program and realised that it's not working, you're probably likely to come back into this and double click and have a little look at the options here. Now it says this device is working correctly, and if we look at the driver, that's the driver version 2015. I have found others, different numbers here, but I don't think that's the issue. Go to details, yeah, okay, and go to events. Now this is the interesting one. So I've deleted it there, actually I've done it there as well. Then it started the device when I plugged it in. It's configured it with that OEM105.inf file, and then it says device not migrated. Now at this point you're going to be thinking, oh god, this hasn't installed correctly, which is pretty much what I've spent the whole day dealing with. And you can see there the error, the device blah 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 was not migrated due to partial or ambiguous match. So you're going to be thinking, well, it's not installed, and you're going to be messing around with drivers and reinstalling it, and actually that's not the problem, and it makes no difference whatsoever. The key thing here is that it's started, it's configured, and it states clearly there that this device is working properly. That's the port that it's on, so no problem. So ignore all of those potential warnings and the fact that it's called a stupid name like that. That is correctly installed. So at this point we will go back to the engraving software, and I'm really having trouble holding this. It's a real pain holding the camera and doing this. So sensible thing now to do is go to engraving software, because you've just downloaded this from the Mr Carve website, and you go to Mr Carve and you right click and you select run as administrator, and you click on yes, and it's going to open Seacad. Now I don't know whether these are licensed or pirated copies. I really don't know how or what the arrangement is here. Now give it a few seconds. Now if it comes up with a warning here that there's no board or trial or something, I'll unplug it in a minute and I'll show you that, then you know instantly that it hasn't realised that there's a device connected. But in our case it knows that it's connected. But here's the problem. So you've got the red light. This, if you hit that, it will do the outline. If I click it now, it wants to do this association thing. Again, the problem with this box, if it pops up, you can't resize it so you can't see what these buttons say. That says association test, but it's blanked out, you can't do anything with it. That, I assume, is missing a C, and it says clear associations. If I click that, the little tick goes out of that box, like so. So you really have no idea. Half of this text is missing, but let's assume it just needs automatic association, and we'll click OK. So there's no processable data because we haven't designed anything. Well, let's do a quick pattern. We're just going to drag out a hex, and if we go up to this one, we can just fill that. Default value for line is 0.5, so I'll just change that, and we'll just hit OK, and it will fill that in. Now at this stage you should be able to click red light. You get the mark status, and the red light indication is running, but if you come over to the red light, it's doing absolutely bugger all. And that's when panic sets in. You can see that it's running 17, 18, 19 seconds, not working. And that is the official Mr Carve download from the Mr Carve website. So we're going to get rid of that, close that down. I was just going to say, sometimes I've had this close and then it opens on its own, which is what it's just done. So it's opening on its own, and yeah, there we go. No errors, so it knows there's a machine connected. So I'm going to close it. So now you'll be thinking, well, hang on a minute, we found that other program. This one's called Mr Carve. What about using this one here called Seacad down there? So let's right click that and run as administrator. Well, it looks like the same thing. But why would they have one called Mr Carve and then one called Seacad in the download? It just makes no sense. Right, again, now this is coming up in Chinese, so you might think then, okay, well then maybe this has just come up in as a Chinese version and it's exactly the same. Well, if that's the case, why not tell people? So you can go to settings and you can go to the bottom one, and then you can change the language to English and click on OK. Nothing's changed, so you will close that down, and we're going to run it again, and this time it will be in English. So my feeling here is that this is exactly the same program, but perhaps with some extra Chinese symbols or images that might have, you know, Chinese descriptions or writing on there. See, now it's all in English. Machine's recognised because it's not come up with any errors. But let's try drawing something again. Let's do a double one. And we'll quickly just fill that. 0.5 is okay, now it's saying okay, different value for the lines here, but I'm going to ignore that. So this is clearly different, look. The line is at 1 millimetre. Yeah, as you can see there. But okay, let's see if this will actually red light. Again, we've got that association button, a box come up. Again, you can't read any of it. And again, we have absolutely nothing. So that's no good either. So we'll stop that, and we will come out of it. Now I'm going to unplug this, which will trigger all of the windows coming up. That's what the error is if it tries to run. There's no board connected, and this one has run itself again. So we're going to see the error properly this time. it's going to say it's running in trial mode. So there is no valid card to use. The software will work in demo mode, not trial mode. So you can mess around, do what you like, but it's not going to get you anywhere because it doesn't work. So I'm going to close it and hope that it doesn't open. Now this time, what I did, because the card became corrupted after I had put it into this machine, say Windows wet itself, and then all of the files just didn't appear and I couldn't recover them. So I actually went out and bought some recovery. I didn't go out, I bought some recovery software which got everything off of this, and I dumped it onto a folder, formatted this and dumped the lot back so I can put this on the various PCs. So we're going to plug this in. There we go. And the folder's going to open, along with all the other goddamn things. Right. Okay, so this time, now this came up, I think it's added a few extra folders when it was copying it. We've got some extra things here though. Explanation. Please copy the files in the USB flash drive to the computer and use it. Yeah, well, that's fair enough. We've got the M1 user manual, November 2021, so pretty old. Let's come over onto the other screen. We'll just have a quick flick through and see if anything has changed regarding the software installation. No, exactly the same. So we've got over a year out of date instructions. Okay, so that's that. We've got the Seacad user manual, again that is from November 2021. So we've got a zip file. I may have already unzipped this. Anyway, if we go into Drive, we've got the install, same install program. I'm not going to run it because we've already got it on there. Not sure what version that is. This might be a newer one, but it doesn't matter. Let's go back up again. So in here, engraving software, we've got the same Mr Carve. Doesn't work. I'm not going to show it running because it's pointless. We've got the same zipped files here which have been unzipped, and that is C-app. Again, that doesn't work. Let me just go back right to the beginning, and then I found this BslAppsimple 5.2.4, and then you can see the other numbers at the end. So you can go into that, and again we have a very similar layout, but this time we've got BslAppsimple application. There's some extensions, library files, folders. So let's run BslAppsimple as administrator. Ooh, okay, well I didn't get this earlier, that's not good. Oh, because the machine, that was a warning about the machine, I think. Now I had this in English when I was running it, so let's just change the language to English, and then I'll shut it down and I will plug the machine in. So I'm going to plug this in next to the USB card. There we go. Let's get rid of these, and then we're going to run this again. There's no processable data, but that means at least the firmware, sorry, the software has recognised that we've got a connection. So where's my drawing window gone? Where is it? Let's just, we've already got a document open. Oh, draw, here we go. Polygon, don't know where the fill, this is a very slightly different menu structure, so don't know where the fill button is. Right click? No, apparently not. Anyway, whatever. The red mark button is down here, so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on red F1, same box as before, but lo and behold, it's actually working. Now for my eyes this is a continuous flickering rectangle, but looking through the camera screen, the refresh rate or the frame rate, that is kind of flashing an L shape either side like that, but it's working. So most of the things in here seem to work just fine. I suppose we should bang something in there and print it out on something, shouldn't we really? What have we got? I'm just going to put the camera down and I'm just going to get one of these business cards out. I actually printed it out on a hub. Actually no, we've got paper for this, haven't we? Should we use the paper? Yeah. So, because it's black, you can't quite, well, maybe you can see the dots. They're not in the right place. See the two dots? Oh, hang on, that's out of focus. Let's just bring it in. Okay, pretty close. Now, one of the M1 forum members has asked me to mention, try not to take the head to the maximum, and possibly the minimum isn't a good idea. There's obviously switches, limit switches, but apparently it can, if you raise it right to the top, it can get stuck. Now, an issue with that is you can't get to that worm drive if it's right up the top, and I think the solution was to disconnect a wire and then bring it back down, because that limit switch, I mean, there must be some programming issue with the limit switch. It's possible you could take this cap off and get to the worm drive. I don't think you'll be able to get to it underneath, even if it is raised to the top. So yeah, the warning is don't let it go to the top. Now, that paper is slightly bowed. Oh, there we go. So I am going to hit mark. It's set up for one pass at 100% power, frequency 30 kilohertz. So I'm going to look away and we're going to hit mark and hope that it does something. And there we go. And you can see how very crisp that is. It's very, very clever, isn't it? I'm so glad that I didn't get this sent back. It was all packaged up and sealed. I had the Amazon returns note all printed out, and it was literally going back in the next day or two at a cost of 86 quid. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, so why it will only work with this BslCAD, or BslAppsimple as they call it, I have no idea. Why it was only supplied on the USB stick that went pear-shaped, I don't know. You would think that this should be downloadable from the Mr Carve website. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether the issue is the fact that I've got the rotary tool version. There's a USB port on the side there somewhere. Yeah, at the back there. And we've obviously got the rotary tools sat here ready to go. I haven't tested those with this. I was just happy to get the damn thing up and running. So I am going to upload these files. The in case somebody else has exactly the same problem. It's ridiculous that you've got to go through these issues with what should be such a simple process. Anyway, look, that's how I've managed to get mine working, and hopefully that was some use to somebody else. The Amazon returns paperwork can now go straight in the bin. Thankfully, I really didn't want to send this back because you know, there are issues. This was a Amazon sale, but through one of their third-party vendors, so you've got to post it back to them. They will refund you. That's assuming they say they get it back in a satisfactory condition. You've got no proof of that. If you are going to return something, I would video the process of putting it all back together in its box, the condition, etc., and then film the sealed box, and you'll obviously have a record of the weight, which should match, you know, the weight that they sent it out as. So that's about as much proof as you can do, really, there. So yes, you've got to then worry about getting your money back after the return, and then Amazon will actually refund the cost of the postage, so keep your receipts. I was going to use FedEx or one of those, and it was 86 quid. The whole thing in the box weighed 10.5 kilos, so it's, you know, it's not a cheap thing to post back anywhere. Anyway, so we are now looking good. Shame it's cost me the day because I had a whole load of nice stuff to engrave. We'll probably start with the stuff that they included with the machine. I've already done something inside on a USB hub, and yeah, there we go. So hopefully that will be useful to others who may buy this machine and think they've got a pup, when actually I think it's probably a very, very good machine. It's just poorly represented and supported by the company. You know, a completely out-of-date manual, software that runs it isn't available from Mr Carve, and it should be. Yes, so it was unfortunate the USB stick went pear-shaped, but that can happen to anybody. I shouldn't have had to spend 70 quid on you know, recovering the files off of that, but it's a good job I did, because that was where the all-important program was to run this. I've just got to add on this last little clip. I wanted to see the text, so I've just added some text. And that's the framing, and if we just quickly burn that, see how quick this is. We're definitely going to have some fun with this.